So what do you do again?
No, so like, I don't remember. No, so like, I have a thing where I really like space stuff and like aliens and UFOs and
Oh,
stuff.
I remember you talking about that.
And
Yeah.
my goal in life is to get an astronaut in a family, because I feel like if there's an astronaut in the family, when it comes down or it comes time to go to Mars, we got an in.
You got
So I'm
somebody.
always like getting him space stuff. Like I got him a little astronaut doll. I got him like a little NASA tent and everything. And so when I play pretend with him, I'm like, hey, like let's go to Mars, and like we build him a spaceship, and then we act like we're launching it. And then when we land, I'm like, oh, there's an alien that looks just like your cat Mufasa.
No
Then we're
way.
like,
No
yeah.
way. So
and-
you're like preparing him?
Yeah, preparing him.
Molding him?
I'm getting him used to the idea that space is fun. It's a good place.
You're this sounds like the plot for X-Men. No, for Fantastic Four, pretty much. Have you
Yeah,
seen Fantastic Four?
Well, not in a long time.
Like the original one.
Like the OG with Chris Evans and stuff.
Captain America?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, cool. So let's have your mic more towards your mouth.
Do it.
Ricky,
Is
how
it
are we
okay
doing?
for me to,
You can push this, like push it
Oh.
back.
Ew.
There we go. Oh,
let
actually,
me-
that's too low, huh?
I can.
No, have it high. Cause sound rises to the top. Yeah, there we go. Ricky, how does she sound?
How do I sound, Ricky? I've heard my voice is soothing. No, just kidding.
Is it good? Good.
There's gonna be some times where I laugh, and it's like my laugh could be ridiculously loud,
Oh, it's in a peak.
and it's gonna hurt Ricky's ears.
Oh, damn. Okay.
You've been warned.
All right, guys. So this is episode 4. Ricky, we recording? Okay, episode 4. Today we have a YouTube star / filmmaker / photographer. Damn, what else? Instagram creator, all around visual artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you
Everything
like to go
comes
by?
out.
Go ahead and let
I don't
everybody
know. That's a really complicated question, Irvin. This is
know. That's the first question.
yeah. So I'm a photographer / videographer who's like dabbling into filmmaking. I feel like filmmaking is such a hefty title to me, or filmmaker. Like
Yeah.
I've made a couple short films, but I always get freaked out of like saying I'm a filmmaker because I don't
Yeah.
want someone to be like,
Oh, you're a
"What are
filmmaker?
you talking about?" Yeah,
Name 5 films you made.
yeah. I'm like,
Yeah. So how do you feel? I guess do you call yourself an artist?
I call myself an artist, or
Okay.
like a visual artist, a content creator.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten very comfortable with calling myself a photographer or videographer. But it's like that filmmaker. I don't know. I feel like there's like a bubble I need to break.
Oh,
Maybe it's like
yeah.
a self-limiting belief, but it's still.
You know that's funny because whenever somebody asks me like how to make because I've had a few people saying like how'd you come up with your name, right, on Instagram, and I always tell them not to say something like shots by or photography by because then I feel like you're kind of putting yourself in a box, right?
Yeah,
Because then eventually you're gonna want to become more than that if you do, and then you're just like, oh, okay, so now I'm just stuck with photography by, and then let me make another profile type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So with your name, obviously it's your name,
Yeah,
so
it's
it
my
can be
name.
anything.
It's my name with an A at the end and an A at or an A at the start, the A at the end, because
Oh.
someone actually has the name Angela Zuniga, and they've made about 5 posts, and I've been trying to get that
and you
handle.
can't get
And now, yeah.
You know what's funny though? Now that you bring it up, it's like A to Z,
Yeah.
right?
A to
Okay.
Z, yeah.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and tell people. Well, how long have you been doing YouTube? Because when I first met you, I just met you from the film club,
Yeah.
and then you just like humbly talked about like YouTube. You're like, oh, I have a YouTube channel, and then like I followed it, and I was like, God damn, she has like 6,000 or how many subs do you have?
I'm creeping on 7,000 right now. So yeah, I've been doing YouTube since 2020 though, so it's been
Okay.
a minute. It's been a journey. I originally, something kind of interesting that you might not know about me
Okay.
is when I first started getting into content creation, I was doing fitness stuff.
Okay.
So like in
Weird.
college, I gained like 40 pounds, and then I lost like 40 pounds, and I started doing a workout program called BBG, and BBG has like this huge like online community
What's,
where people
BBG?
are posting. Bikini Body Guide.
Oh, okay.
I know it sounds. I'm like
Okay.
saying it. I'm like, but I started posting because of that,
Right.
and then after a while of doing that, I kind of felt like it was giving me a little bit of body dysmorphia in a sense
right,
of like,
yeah.
hey, like I got to like the fittest I've ever been in my life, but then
Yeah.
I was starting to not be happy, and that's when I first started making stuff on Instagram, and then I
Okay.
started dabbling with stuff on YouTube then. But then in 2020, because I wasn't that happy, I was getting more into personal development.
Okay.
And then that's when I got my first camera. Like my first camera that was mine
In 2020?
in 2020.
Oh,
So
wow.
I started messing with cameras like back in high school. So like 15, 16 years ago. I'm 30 now. So like
Okay.
I started messing with cameras back then, but it wasn't until 2020 that I got my first interchangeable lens that was just
Sick.
mine.
Yeah. What camera was it?
It was a Canon M50.
Okay.
And I still have it, and I'm never gonna get rid of it. Like I'm
Yeah.
like have determined that this has too much sentimental value, you know?
Yeah, you can.
And so when I got that camera, originally I just wanted to start getting more into photography because I knew that I liked it from high school and like a little bit of college and stuff like that. But when I got that camera, I started making more fitness content. But then I think in the fitness world, it's really weird, especially like for a woman in the fitness world, and you start getting like weird comments and stuff. And
Oh,
I was like,
was it a lot of guys?
yeah, and I was
Okay,
just
yeah.
like, you know, I have more to offer than just fitness. Like, I like the
Right.
gym, but I really like creating things. Like, I've always been a creative person.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, yeah, I'm going to stop this completely. And then I started making YouTube videos about personal development stuff.
Okay.
And then when I got my Canon M50, because at first I was making them with my phone, but then when I got my Canon M50, I was like, hey, I got this Canon M50. Like,
wow.
is it good in 2020? And then I started making videos about that.
Right.
And then I started doing like landscape photos, and it just kind of grew into, okay, like photography and videography, like this is
Yeah.
my entire personality now. Not just
Damn. So you started YouTubing with your phone?
with my phone at first.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So I
Okay.
was like with the freaking ring light, and
Oh,
then
right.
my
Yeah.
cell phone. I had like an iPhone 6 at the time or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, but even then, I was just like doing more sit down talking. And back then, when I was first doing it, it was more like talking about, oh, this is what I ate, and da 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 da.
Right.
You know,
Like vlogs? kind of
like a
thing?
little bit of vlogs and
Okay.
like talking about like different workouts and stuff. And then I think I actually had a whole different YouTube channel that I completely scrubbed because I was like, I am not like
Oh,
gonna
what's the
be
name?
the fitness thing anymore, right? And then I think the first video I made on I think it was a video I made on the previous YouTube channel that I totally scrubbed.
Okay.
Was just like, I'm done with fitness, and this is why, like, cause
Oh, you put that out there?
yeah, I put that out there. I was
Okay.
like, I'm more than a body, you know,
Oh,
like that kind of
damn,
thing.
yeah.
And like looking back, I'm like,
And it got views?
it got some views, but then
Yeah.
I scrubbed that entire channel and then started my channel, what it is right now.
Yeah.
And I opened up with like personal development stuff, and then turned into photography and art, and then now it's kind of turned into a mesh of both. And I like to say that my content is personal development for creative souls.
Okay.
And yeah.
How'd you start tapping into Alan Watts? Because I hear like some of the sounds.
Oh, yeah.
Right, like
So for
whenever
like
you-
a lot of my like reels.
Yeah.
So I think, okay, something I really enjoy for Instagram reels is a lot of the quotes and poetry and motivational speaking.
Right.
Because a lot of, like, I think that just is what appeals to me whenever I'm scrolling on YouTube.
That's what
or
catches you
on
when you're
Instagram.
swiping?
Yeah, I'm like, I like those kind of quote shots.
Right.
And I always end up getting Alan Watts because he has so many of them, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
There's so many quotes from him that are like trending sounds or like they're popping off. So then I
Right.
like to make cool visuals to go along with it.
that,
And then, yeah. So
Is there a like a certain saying quote from Alan Watts, or it's not that?
no, not.
Okay, like it's not that deep then.
It's not that deep. I'm like,
Okay.
I feel like he just happens to be a big voice in that
Right.
area, you know, where a lot of the quote sounds on TikTok or on Instagram
Right.
end up being him. But I feel like I've never really seen myself as like, oh my God, Alan Watts, you know?
Oh yeah.
It just
Like-
so happens, like, oh, he said some cool stuff again, you know, or
Yeah.
like that.
Did you like save it? Like I'm definitely gonna make something of this.
Yeah,
later.
I feel inspired, you know?
Okay. All right, I get you. So then the transition from fitness to life, personal
So
development.
yeah, so
Right.
I actually, so think about it, I graduated college in 2016.
Okay.
And so originally when I went to school, I was a film major for a little
Okay.
bit. And
Where'd you go to?
I went to UC Santa Barbara.
Okay.
So I went in as a film
Damn.
major.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then halfway through, I ended up switching to communication.
Okay.
And something kind of interesting with that, looking back, it's like, what is YouTube but film mixed with marketing? you
Right,
know?
okay,
So I'm like,
yeah.
oh, like, I see how that works out. And when I graduated, I was very lost because I felt like I wanted to have a creative job, but
Right.
I was like, I don't know where to get hired. I don't know how to make money. And when I first graduated, I moved to New York for a little bit, like
Oh,
for like
sick.
only for like 4 or 5 months, and then I was like, oh man, I'm out of money. Like I lived in
Ooh.
Brooklyn for a
Oh,
minute,
damn. Okay.
and that
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah.
And
How was New York?
it was I it's a great place to visit, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like I can't see myself living there. I know people love it,
Right.
and like living there, it was cool because you can go so many different places in such a small, what felt like
Perimeter?
a small perimeter.
Okay.
You can access everything with the subway and everything, so it was
Yeah.
really cool. But there was like homeless people pissing in the subway,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh,
like
okay.
all of like those kind of
Right,
things,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like just so many people that you can't really have a moment alone. Like you're walking down the street and it's just always there's
Oh,
someone
wow.
there, you know?
Yeah.
So after New York, I came back to California, and I ended up working a crap ton to move to LA. And then when I
Damn.
moved to LA, like I made the mistake of during my interview being like, I just want to survive and I need a job, you know?
Damn. Oh, you hit
So-
him like that? You
Yeah,
just being
I was
real?
like, I'm just trying to survive out here, man, because I was like desperate. I needed a
Damn.
job.
They asked you the question like, why do you want this job?
Yeah.
Because I need money. All right.
It was like he was like, so how much are you looking to get paid? And I ended up getting it was a marketing job for a real estate development company, and I was making $35,000 in Los Angeles,
Oh, cool.
and that was like I was like, okay, I have some money,
Yeah.
but it was literally staying afloat with cost of living, like
Oh,
35K
dude.
in LA,
Yeah.
and I started really feeling like I don't know, I felt like not valuable. So
Okay.
I remember one time, my boss at the time, he was an awesome person. Like,
Okay.
he was a great boss, and I learned a lot from him. But I remember one time he made a comment like, I think marketing is the least important aspect of something.
You're like, bro, I'm like right here.
Yeah, I'm like, what? And so I felt like I was like very, very depressed.
Undervalued.
Undervalued, but like also just very depressed from I wasn't making enough money. I felt like I was stuck, and every time I applied for a job, like I
Okay.
couldn't get anything else. And so because of how depressed I was like, I'm gonna start looking into personal development, and I started reading a crap ton of books on self-help. I started listening to a bunch of tarot readings, which sounds like
Oh,
kind of-
wait a minute. Like the cards?
yeah, cards.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I got super into that, like tarot, crystals, all that stuff.
Oh, you were a crystal girl?
I'm
Oh,
a
wow.
crystal girl. I have so many crystals, and
You like charge them in the sun and all that?
yeah, and in the full moon. But I was at this like really kind of dark. I want to say it's like one of the darkest points of my life, but I feel like I kind of grew out of it.
What
or
year
like
was it? 2018?
This is probably like 2018, 2019,
Okay.
and I felt very stuck, and the job was like something that I don't know. I just felt like not valued there.
Yeah.
Even though the people I worked with, I liked the people that I worked with, but I just felt so sad. And like, I don't know, this might be very serious.
Oh, no,
but,
no, that's good. Yeah.
Like there was like a point where I was like, kind of like suicidal ideation kind of
Damn.
thing. But it's like, at what point am I suicidal? Because I think about how I would do it, and I know how I would do it, but I'm not going to actually do it. You know?
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind
You
of
just
thing.
started having some of the
Where I'm like,
thoughts, huh?
dude, this is bad. Like
Like
I
you were
need-
driving and you're like, what happens if?
Yeah, what if I
okay.
just, or like
Yeah.
so I had like really, really dark thoughts, and that's when I was like, okay, something needs to change. I was super broke though, and my insurance didn't really cover like therapy or something.
Yeah,
So I was
damn.
like, okay, I need to just help myself, you know?
Damn.
And I mean, that's when and that was also with the fitness stuff too. Like I was
Okay.
also like drilling stuff at the gym, always weightlifting, always going to a gym
It's
consistently.
like a therapy at the
Yeah,
time?
it was a therapy, but then it kind of turned into a point. Like I remember running into someone I knew at the gym, and they're like, "How are you?" And I was like,
Oh, you're about to break down?
Yeah, I
Like
was
the
like,
tears are about to come out?
I'm doing great, you know, like. And I was like,
Damn.
it was such a dark time, and I felt like I just started diving more into personal development, and I started reading this book called The Artist's Way.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's
No, do you know the author?
yeah, it's by Julia Cameron.
Okay.
Like I'm actually rereading it right now, which is
Right.
kind of interesting. But it's like a 12-week program for artists where it's like
Okay.
it makes you journal, it makes you do like self-reflection stuff,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to just like help you with your creativity, right? And so that was like my introduction into personal development stuff.
Wow.
And then I started reading more and more, and then I started making videos about what I was reading, but like those videos didn't gain any traction whatsoever.
It was like a therapy session on its
Yeah,
own.
I was like,
Just-
this is my yeah, but it was helping me like,
Yeah.
and I actually dug myself out of this dark spot.
So you were like alone in LA
I
going
wasn't
through all
even
this.
alone. I was with my fiance, well, now fiance.
Okay.
Or yeah, then boyfriend, now fiance, and like,
Wow.
he's an angel because there were so many nights where I was just like crying, and I was like, I don't know what to do, and he's like, it's gonna be
Oh,
okay, you know. And I'm
damn.
like,
He's a real one.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like he did what he could, but it was like more like internally, like I need
Yeah.
to figure this out. And come 2020, that's when I started getting more in a better place, and that's when I was making like the YouTube personal development stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually for Valentine's Day of 2020, James, my fiance, he bought me my Canon.
No
M50.
way.
Yeah, he was like, hey, like you have been
Oh,
very into
wow.
like making stuff, and you were so great at photography before, like here, like you should do this.
Damn.
And,
Damn.
yeah.
Shout out to James.
Yeah.
Cheers to James.
Yeah,
Damn.
cheers
yeah.
to James.
Also, thanks Joe for the amazing Palma.
These are really good.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Damn. That's what's up.
yeah, so 2020, I was in a better spot,
Okay.
and then COVID happened, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
Yeah, and COVID had happened, and the office I was working at kind of shut down. So I was like, okay, now I'm on unemployment, and this is actually kind of nice though, because I don't have to go to
Yeah,
work.
staying at
you
home
know?
for a little bit.
But then like this story sucks. My dad died, and yeah, so I'm like, I feel like I said that so nonchalantly, but like it's
Oh.
yeah,
damn.
it was like it was an interesting point in my life because I just came out of a really dark spot.
Right.
And I did so much like healing and like self-help. And then when my dad passed, it was crazy when it happened. But like sometimes I'm like, dude, I'm so glad I went through all the other stuff I went through before and worked on myself getting up to that point.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when I was in my really dark places and I would
Right.
have really bad thoughts, one of the things was like, no, if I were to do that, my dad like would be devastated, you know, because I was
Oh.
like such a daddy's girl. And then when that happened, it was like I moved from LA to Merced to help my mom.
Okay.
And so that's
Yeah.
how I came back to the Central Valley. And then I started like diving deeper into like art stuff. And like that's kind of got me to where I am now, where
Yeah,
I
yeah.
started doing more like introspective, started doing more and more YouTube videos, and yeah.
Damn, dude, that is wild. I didn't know that. And my
Yeah.
condolences to you and your family. But you know what though? Like you mentioned that you went through all that self-discovery and kind of understanding yourself and going through all those hard moments because yeah, like imagine if that would have happened, I guess like when you didn't go through that, I'm sure it would have been a lot harder to navigate through your father's passing, you know? Because you don't really know what to do in that situation. And I remember reading something, I think Joel told me, it's that everybody goes through the same thing just at different times. And sometimes people don't know exactly what you're going through until they experience it. And that's like something on its own because like I feel like as we're getting older, I'm starting to see like my family get older, like my mom, my dad. And then you like, you know, there's like instances where your friend goes through that passing of, you know, of like, you know, your mom or dad. And then you don't really know what's happening until it happens to you. So,
So one of my friends actually, a few years before my dad passed, her dad had passed, and then when my father passed away, she actually like reached out to me and was like, "Hey, like this is,"
Yeah.
and then that I remember hearing her perspective was such a welcomed thing
Yeah.
because when everyone is like, "Oh, sorry," it's like, "Okay, yeah, like you don't really know like what's going on."
Yeah, dude,
So when
yeah.
she reached out, so I think moving forward, when there was someone who I knew that like their mom or dad passed away, like I made a point to reach out to them because it was like I remember
Damn.
having that was such a good like, oh, like that's a like
yeah.
thank you. And so I kind of, what is it, pay it due or pay it forward or whatever.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Damn, Angela. I did not know that. So that's crazy that I found out right now.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a weird thing to
Bring
like,
up?
Yeah, because you know,
Yeah.
it's like it's an automatic downer, you know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I'm like, it was such like a hard time in the moment, but I've moved past it. Or it's
Yeah.
like, you know, my dad wouldn't want me to be sad all the time because of it, and like, it's like, what can you do aside
Yeah.
from kind of move forward with it? And,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so you come back to Merced. Was the move like easy for you to make? Did you felt like it was time to do that, or you really want? What made you want to go to LA in the first place anyway?
So when I went to, okay, so when I came back to California after New York, I came back to Santa Barbara. And when I was in Santa Barbara, I was working a part-time job, a
Okay.
full-time job, and Ubering, all to afford moving to LA.
Wow.
And the reason why I wanted to move to LA was kind of because James was living in LA.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Okay.
also because Santa Barbara, they always have a joke where it's like the newlyweds and nearly deads, because there's
Okay.
nothing going on in Santa Barbara in terms
Right.
of career. But Los Angeles just seems like a place with so much opportunity. And I was like, I'll definitely find a job there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And so I saved up and moved there. And my thought perspective, because James grew up here too.
Okay.
And we kind of had it in mind where eventually, when it came to like having a family and stuff like that, we would move back to the Central Valley
Yeah.
because all of our family was around here. But we didn't intend to do that for years.
Yeah.
And when COVID happened, and then when my dad passed away, it kind of just made sense. Like, hey, because my sister lives on the East Coast. My
Okay.
brother George is in Fresno with his whole family. My brother Greg was in the time he was in the Bay Area, and he was just starting his family.
Oh wow.
Or like he was just got married, and I think I don't know what he was doing with his life back then, but there was
Right.
something that was just
Yeah.
like, okay, like me and James were like, this makes sense for us to be the ones to go and help my mom.
Yeah.
And when I moved back, it was a little bit of a struggle in terms of living with my mom again, because like I
go from
love my
having your own
mom,
space.
but yeah, it's like having your own space, and then when you're living with a parent after not living with them for a long time, there's like a headbutting, especially with. In her mind, she was like, "You're gonna inherit this house, and like this is your forever. Like this is forever now."
Right,
And I'm just
yeah.
like, that's a lot. So like, I want to help you,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
this is like this house is great, but and so
Yeah.
I felt like there was a lot of stress in that moment trying to help my mom adjust to like my dad not being there, and then also trying to adjust to being under a parent's roof again.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was kind of rough at first, and then eventually me and James ended up moving out from my mom's house because we're like, okay, like I think
It's
you're
time.
good now, like you're
Yeah.
fine, like, and then moving out was nice because like, okay, we have our own space again.
Yeah.
And then, but like since then, after a few years now, I live with my brother.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And,
yeah.
but it's like such a different dynamic, like living with a sibling versus living with a parent.
Yeah.
With like a
100%.
sibling, it's like, hey, like let's all hang out or something. But with a parent, it's like, go
Dude.
clean your room, and I'm like, Mom, I'm like,
They see you as a kid.
20.
Yeah, they see you as a kid. Yeah. Damn, dude. So making the transition, how did you feel as a creator? Did you feel like you still had, or did it feel easier for you to create, or did you find it hard to get inspiration?
So something interesting. So I got my camera Valentine's 2020, right?
Okay.
And I started doing LA meetups, so pretty much like
Oh.
film club meetups,
Oh,
but
sick.
in LA.
Yeah.
And over there, it would be a bunch of photographers and a bunch of models all hanging out at like a park or like going
Nice.
somewhere, and it was a chance to kind of build your portfolio, right?
Right.
And so I was very excited about that, and I actually booked my first paid portrait shoot.
Oh, sick.
Right?
From that meetup?
From that meetup. And I remember her name was Gold, and like she was a
Oh.
very nice girl. We like met up at like some cafe to like talk contracts and everything.
Oh,
and I was so
wow.
excited. Like
Yeah.
I had a location picked out, I scoped it out, and then quarantine happens.
Oh,
And I was
damn.
like, no. So we had to cancel it.
Yeah.
And then I remember being very bummed about that. And like, because of quarantine, it was kind of, hey, I'm going to just make stuff of myself with myself, So just
Yeah.
doing a lot of like self-portraits and making YouTube videos. And then when my dad passed, I think that in itself was just like a very mentally jarring thing
Yeah.
to go through, where I was just like, dude, I don't want to create anything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just sad, And then after that kind of passed, I feel like moving back here helped a lot because my mom's house was on like an acre of land.
Okay.
And whereas in New York and like Los Angeles, there was always people around.
Yeah. Always busy.
Yeah, here it was like, I'm gonna go, and it's something I would call like the backback, because it was like the backyard had a fence, but then there was like another fence that was
Oh,
like the
okay.
property line fence.
The backpack.
So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the backback and like look at the neighbors' cows, you know?
Right.
And it was like really relaxing, and it definitely made me appreciate this area more. Like being in a bigger city and then coming to here, I'm like, this is not bad. Like I
Yeah.
like this. I can kind of calm down and be a little bit more like introspective and
Think.
yeah, I think. And then I really like taking photos and videos of like naturey stuff.
Yeah.
So here you can find that
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And then because we're so close to Yosemite, I was going to Yosemite so much when I first moved back, because when I was a kid, like we hardly went to Yosemite.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's literally right there. So I just got a pass, and I
Yeah.
would
The
be
gateway
going.
to Yosemite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd be going like every single month. So I think moving back here has actually helped a lot with my creativity. And I think too, because when I was a kid growing up here, I was such like an artsy fartsy creative kid. Sorry, my nose is all
Artsy-fartsy.
leaky.
Oh no, you're good.
It's like,
No, you're
I'm
good.
like, oh no.
Ricky, get her a napkin. No, no, you're good.
But yeah, I was like super artsy fartsy as a kid, and I think kind of going back to my childhood home.
Wait, are you left-handed?
No,
Oh, okay.
why was I?
Oh no, I'm just
I
saying
was
because
like, I'm ambidextrous.
okay, artsy fartsy as a kid.
Yeah, artsy fartsy as a kid. I think going back to my childhood home really helped with that. And kind of reconnecting with my inner child and like where
Yeah.
I was as a kid, and like
Oh wow.
kind of feeling that artist in me more so.
Yeah, that's dope, dude. What's the creative process for you? Because from personal experience, I've seen how you like actually draw.
Yeah.
You know, like you're actually doing the like frame by frame, like the what do you call it?
Storyboarding.
The storyboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's like the creative process for you? Are you somebody that likes to write things down and then shoot, or you just like to go out and shoot?
I think it depends. Like, it depends on what the idea and inspiration is. Because sometimes I'll get a random idea and I'm like, oh, I need to act on this right now, you know, and I'll just pick up my camera and go out and shoot. But if I'm planning something, like with my YouTube videos,
Yeah.
something I like to do is first have like my topic in mind
Okay.
and what message I want the viewer to see or feel. And then from there, I usually write out a script,
A whole ass script?
a whole ass script,
Damn.
where I'm like, this is what the whole thing is about. But it's like,
Uh.
it's very loose. Well, it isn't, okay, so when I write it, it's all there.
Right.
But when I say it, it's very loose. Where I'm like, okay, I wrote this, I'll say something along those lines, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
But after I have the script, sometimes I'll read through it and just start listening to different songs, like
Okay.
from Epidemic Sound.
Okay.
So that's what I use for my copyright music, or music that I have copyrights to.
Right.
And I'll just sit there in my
Go through it.
room, listening to a song, eyes closed, and imagining, what do I see with this song? And
Damn,
like, does
okay.
it work with what the message I'm trying to convey?
Yeah.
And then that's when I start storyboarding and kind of drawing it out, not frame by frame, but like scene by scene. Okay, I want this to be here, and then kind of having those ideas. And then even then, that's not even set in stone, where I'm like,
Right.
okay, this is what it looks like in my doodle, but when
Yeah.
I'm out there shooting, like I might see something that's better and just kind of go with that.
Yeah.
And something too with my creative process is kind of changing at the moment. I'm in this like transitional thing where
Okay.
I'm trying to write things more from a screenwriting
Yep.
perspective
Yeah, I get that.
rather
Okay.
than a script writing. Because I've been reading this book. It's called The Anatomy of a Story.
Okay.
It's,
Sick.
it's by John Truby. He's a screenwriter for Shrek.
Oh, what? No way.
Yeah, and he's written.
Banger.
He's a screenwriter for other stuff, but honestly, Shrek is the one
comes
that
to mind.
Yeah, Shrek.
That's what sold you?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, this guy knows what he's doing,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Okay.
So reading into that, and it's about like storytelling and character development and stuff like that. So I'm trying to transition my scripts to more of a screenwriting thing.
Okay.
Because I want to start doing more short film style for my
Yeah.
YouTube videos.
Do you have any like favorite directors at the
Favorite
moment
directors. That's okay. I'm horrible
with names?
with names.
Okay.
yeah.
Are you better
I'm-
with movies?
With my okay, so I like Christopher Nolan,
Right.
obviously, and then I'm like obviously because he's such a big one.
Yeah.
But what is his name? Denis Villeneuve, or
I don't even
he
know.
directed Dune and like
Oh,
Blade Runner
okay.
and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
sick.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm like I like his stuff. I like what is it? Crap, I'm horrible with names. That's
Horrible names,
another
okay.
thing. When I was a film major at UCSB,
Yeah.
getting hit with that question, it was like,
Like you didn't know what to say?
Yeah, paralyzed.
Damn.
You know? So it's like, I felt triggered, Urban. Just kidding.
So, in filmmaking, I mean, going to the school over there.
Mm-hmm.
When people, I don't know if anybody's ever asked you, like, have people ever asked you, like, should I go to a filmmaking school? Like, would you say yes or no? From your experience, would you?
From my experience, I would say, like, it depends. And that's such
Okay.
it sounds like a cop-out of an answer.
Okay.
But I think school, I feel like the school system in itself, to me, is a little fucked up.
Okay.
And it's a lot of money
Yeah.
for stuff that you can learn on your own.
Right.
And although I think one aspect of being at a film or being part of a film education is you meet more people that you can network with and kind of bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
But I think looking back at my experience, I value it. But at the same time, I was so young that I felt like I didn't take it serious enough. Because I was 18, 19, just out of high school,
just out of high
going
school?
into college. And looking back, I'm like, dang, you're such a stupid little kid. Like, you should have just paid attention more in classes.
Okay.
So I feel like if you're serious about it and you're like, hey, I'm going to go in this with a plan. Like,
Yeah.
I want to learn everything I can learn. I want to go to office hours and talk to these professors because they are a valuable mentor right there.
Yeah.
Then by all means, like, go to film school. But if you're like, oh, I think I want to go to film school, but like, it's like, nah, dude, you don't want to go to film school then. Like, just go read some books, start
Go read-
learning what you get, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're like willing to take it seriously and actually utilize it for what it is and
Yeah.
try to get as many network opportunities through it, then it's like, okay, you're ready. You're seeing it with more of like an adult perspective. Then,
Yeah.
like,
That's
go
more
for
like
it.
valuable.
Yeah.
More okay.
Yeah, because I'm like, dang, like I wish I was more active in talking to my professors and being like a front and center row person that's just like always asking questions and always there and always present and doing everything I could to absorb everything.
Yeah.
But
What's something from film school that really helped you with like the process that you have right now? Is there something that you're just like you're still using today from that, or?
I think one thing that film school did was force me to look at movies and TV shows differently with like more of an analytical mind, and that's something I do all the time. Where when I think I've told you about this in a separate time, I had this class, Film 96, I believe it's Film 96. It's like notoriously the hardest film class at UCSB because it was like Monday you have a lecture and it's like a 2-hour lecture where all you do is watch a movie, right? And you're like, okay, sick, you get to watch a movie, right? But then by Thursday you have a 7-page paper due on one aspect of the movie. So you watch a movie on Monday and then by Thursday you have a 7-page paper due on sound. And you're like, so you're there watching that movie over and over again, like analyzing everything, like this is what sound they use, this is why they use it, these are the emotions they're trying to convey, and like diving so analytically into it. So we did that every single week for
Every week?
every week for I think
God
like
damn.
I can't remember the quarter system. I think is like 8 weeks. I don't know. I can't. 12 weeks. 12 weeks. Quarter system makes sense.
God
12 weeks,
damn,
right?
yeah.
I don't know, but every week did that. So it was like, okay, 1 week is sound, 1 week is framing, everything. So that class in particular is the class that I remember the most from film school. Like that, and that made me analyze the crap out of things.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, I wonder how they lit this here, and like where, like what the setup was, or like they do a certain angle, and I'm like, like that's cool. And sometimes
Right.
it kind of takes you out of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, true. Okay. Yeah.
But I think there's times where I go and watch something and I see them do something with their camera and I'm like, oh, I want to try to recreate this in my YouTube video, you know?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think in that sense, that was the most valuable class I took. And that's like the one that has stuck with me since then.
God damn, dude.
Yeah.
What was like the hardest movie to write about?
I don't even, honestly, like, I don't remember any of the titles of the movies.
Damn.
Or anything. I just remember
You're just getting through it.
getting through it and like, and some of them, I want to say there was one movie that was in a foreign language, So it's literally you're just paying attention to what they're doing with the camera to convey emotion. Because
Yeah.
you're like, all right, I don't understand anything that they're saying, but I can feel it. And that's in itself is
Damn.
like a lesson.
Damn, dude. So as far as okay, so you went to film school. You know, you started doing your own thing. When did you feel that you started really finding your own style when it comes to like creating your own
I'm
content?
still finding my own style, man.
Yeah?
I feel
Okay.
like it's ever developing. I think that's something that I actually, until recently, I took like a month off of making videos for YouTube. I actually
Okay.
made my first video in a month this weekend, right? And during that time, I was just really thinking about that question of what is my format, what is my style? And I kind of have aesthetically what I like, which is more of a dreamy,
I get that.
yeah,
I can
like
see that.
I
yeah.
really like the dreamy vibe. But in terms of style, as in the cuts that I make and the framing I choose and the music I use,
Yeah.
that I've been kind of trying to fine tune and develop.
Okay.
But I think it's so hard because with this current world of social
Oh yeah,
media,
yeah. There we go. Okay. Uh-huh.
no, with this current world of social media, it's so easy to be overly influenced by the things that you see. So it's like wanting to be a creator in a consumer's world. It's like I
Oh,
gotta,
wow, that's a good one,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I gotta just like pay attention to what I'm consuming and making sure that when I'm making my own stuff, it's not just copying someone else's stuff.
Yeah.
Because that can be a problem. Whereas like, I think everyone's style, when it comes down to it, is little pieces of what they like from other people kind of smashed together and combined.
Yeah.
But again, it's so easy to be like just replicating someone else's style and then mistaking it for your own. And that is something that I've kind of had to like dance
Stolen
around,
valor.
you know?
Stolen valor. Damn.
Yeah.
Dude, that's real. How do you feel with the algorithm? Do you ever feel like you're sacrificing your art to please the algorithm?
Yes and no. Like I think, what is it? It's like following a trend instead of following your heart. You know, where I think one of the most heartbreaking things is when you create something that you like poured your heart into, and you're like, this is great. This is my best
It's
work
gonna do
ever.
numbers.
And then it's just like,
Yeah. Like 100 people saw it.
yeah. And like something I was thinking about going into this was, I think art used to be so subjective,
Yeah.
where it was the person who was seeing it, and you couldn't really put any kind of value on it because it was based on an individual experience of like what they were seeing.
Yeah.
But now, because of the numbers of comments and views, it's turning more objective, where people are like, oh, you're making these videos, but it only got this many likes. And it's just like,
Dude.
you know?
Yeah, that's so real.
And
That's
so-
hella real. Yeah.
yeah.
I feel that.
So I feel like for me, when I was first making videos on Canon M50 stuff, I started doing a lot of lens reviews, and even now, like the lens reviews are the videos that have the most views.
Okay.
And that's great, and I feel like that kind of drew more people to my channel.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be a tech person, and like don't want to do lens reviews, and
Yeah.
I'm like, like I like getting a lens, but I don't want to.
Yeah, like I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about it,
Yeah.
but I'm like not trying to tell you all the specs and stuff because that's like
Right.
I don't really find
That's not
that
me.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that whenever I do a lens review, those things pop off, and I'm like, But I kind of
Damn.
last year made a decision like I'm not gonna do any lens reviews, and kind of like stood my ground for that.
Okay.
But I did make some videos of like the best photography for a 50mm lens, right? And then I was just like,
Oh, you're doing it again.
psych.
Oh.
Any type of photo. This is-
Okay. Okay.
Gotcha. This is,
Yeah.
But like things like that. But yeah, I feel like trying not to sacrifice your art in the process of trying to get a view
Yeah.
is like definitely a struggle, like
Yeah.
back and forth.
Dude, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you shoot like, you know how obviously with like IG and TikTok, do you have to shoot now like vertical? Like, do you make that a thing, or do you do everything
I always
horizontal
shoot
and then?
horizontal.
Okay.
So I last year I kind of decided to make YouTube a priority,
Okay.
and because I felt like with because I was doing a lot of Instagram and YouTube before. But with Instagram, it's like you post something and after a day it's done. Like it's
Right.
it's dead. Like there it goes. But with YouTube, my videos from years ago are still getting views, and there's way more long tail on it. So I've shift my focus to YouTube, long form, and that's
Yeah.
horizontal. So usually I'm always shooting horizontally, and then I crop like 16.
Right, to get
and
in
then
there.
sometimes I do little like movement and whatever in posts, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Damn.
Sometimes if I know like, oh, I'm going out specifically to make this content for Instagram
Yeah.
or TikTok, then I'll go out and shoot vertically.
Right.
But I think like 90% of the time I'm shooting horizontal.
Okay. Dude, that's so real. Like when you said well, damn, I can't even remember now. But when we were talking about like the art, and you said something about chasing the number, or what
Or
you say?
chasing the trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so real, dude. Like, do you ever feel like you kind of cave into that, or like you?
Of course, like I
Okay.
think it's human nature in terms of seeing something, because I think when you're creating stuff on Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is that you're trying to grow on social media, it's only human nature to feel a certain way about the numbers. And I think that's for anyone creating anything, or even a normal person just posting.
Yeah.
You always look at the number and see how it performs. But then
Yeah.
if you're trying to make something out of it, it's a whole nother level of posting something and analyzing the analytics to
Yeah.
see what kind of feedback you have.
Yeah.
And there's times where it's like, okay, this is performing better. Like, I'm going to see if I can make something else like this, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's natural. But one thing I like to think about for that is the last thing I want is to build up an empire around something I'm not happy about. Like,
That's good. Yeah.
imagine if I made nothing but lens reviews, I'm sure my channel would grow. But
Right.
then I would have a channel with a bunch of lens reviews and I'd be miserable, you know? And this
Yeah.
is something that if I'm doing it, I want to be happy, and
Yeah.
I don't want it to turn into any other full-time job where I'm just like, this sucks, but it pays the bills, you know?
Yeah, I get that. What actually made you want to stick with this then?
With
Like
stick
with all
with-
that, with all that being said, like as far as like your, well, you know what? Before that, how do you make the how do you separate that like your creative form content to like working with businesses?
So I keep that completely, mostly completely separate. Like I'll talk about on my YouTube channel, I'll talk about what I'm doing with my business every once in a while. But for the most part, I kind of I have my business and then I have my YouTube, which is more of like a passion project.
Yeah.
And a passion project that if it became something full time, like that's the dream, you know?
Yeah.
So with my business, sometimes though it's interesting with video projects. People will be like, "Oh, I saw your YouTube channel, and like I can tell that you do great work." And
Yeah.
so I'm like, "Okay, it's like a portfolio in itself."
Right.
Even though I'm not showcasing things that they would particularly
Yeah.
be needing. So that's interesting how it overlaps in that way. But I don't ever see my YouTube channel turning into, "Oh, this is the behind the scenes of what I did today."
Yeah.
Because I feel like with what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel, it's more like introspective, profound thinking, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Where if I was working with a brand that wanted that kind of content or something like that, then I would be more willing to share it. But when
Right.
it comes to doing like a client project or like a restaurant shoot or a quince or something, I'm just going to keep that separate because I'm like, okay, like I'm doing it. I know I'm doing it. I'll put it on
Yeah.
my website so people, if they're looking for
Gotcha.
it, they'll do
Okay.
it. But for my YouTube, I just see it as like, this is my little baby that I'm going to just keep it over here. And this is all my little happiness, you know?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense then. When you're, I guess like as a photographer, videographer, did you ever get to the point where it's like, oh, I need to make money?
Yes and no, because something about me right now, full transparency, I have a part-time remote job. So that is 20 hours a week. I choose whatever hours I want to do.
Right.
It's completely remote. It's super chill. And that has given me a lot more freedom in my business. So I'm not like, oh, I need to make money. There's been times where if I tell someone a price and they're like, oh, I can't do that, I'm like, all right, cool, that's fine with me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to do it unless it's not right, you know?
Right, yeah.
So it gives me a lot less pressure in that sense. There is some times where I'm like, okay, if I do this, like, it'll be a pretty penny. So, like, I'll suck it up and do it. And obviously do the best work I can do. 'Cause anything that has my name on it, I'm like, I want it to be nice.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm just like, like, this isn't really, like,
What I want to do.
what I want to do, but
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
it because, like, yeah.
Yeah, I get that, dude. When you're, I guess like right now, what you said when it comes to like putting your name on the thing that you're making, I hella get what you mean, dude, because I feel like as a photographer, videographer, I don't know if you ever went through that phase where you kind of do a lot of like wedding work, and weddings are like obviously like highly paid, right? Like they pay more than others. Do you ever feel like you went through like these phases where you're just like, okay, I don't want to do weddings anymore. I want to do this now. Like,
I think for I'm kind of going through that phase right now.
okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I've been so I was doing a lot more like portraits, weddings, quinceañeras, and now I'm transitioning more into like businesses.
Okay.
And it's nothing like I like delivering the final product for a big life event because people are so happy and
Oh
they
wow,
have
you
less.
love that?
I love that.
Oh, good.
Like
Okay.
that
Yeah, yeah.
is like, and I haven't had any issues so far with that.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, the people I've worked with have been like, oh my God, I love this. And that to me,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so nice.
That's what I
you know?
need. You're like,
You know?
yeah.
You
Tell me
know?
more.
Yeah, keep it coming, keep it coming. But I do feel like okay, so the job that I did last year, that was the big one, was that the quince I told you about.
Okay.
Where like,
You're working out at the sensory lab, right?
yeah, I was working at that was one of the
Before the photo walk.
that was
Yeah.
one of the longest projects I ever done, and the people were so nice, and the event was beautiful, and it was great. But what I delivered them was like an hour-long video of like
wow.
the quince, and that was rough, like editing wise. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I don't want to ever do this again. I don't want to ever do like
Yeah.
this whole thing again. But I felt like my editing.
And you shot it by yourself?
I shot it all by myself, dude. I was
Wild.
running like
Wild.
everywhere, and it was funny because when I delivered it to them, they were like, "Dang, I can't believe this is one person," because I was literally
Yeah.
like,
So you had like a
that
stationary
day-
cam,
yeah,
and then your gimbal.
stationary cam, gimbal, running around. The way I edited it was like showed like the banda playing and the people dancing too, and they're like,
Damn.
"Dang, like it looks like multiple people were on this job," and I'm like, "Dude, it's like editing and also like or footwork running everywhere."
Yeah.
And like at the end of all that, when I finally delivered that project, I was like, "Oh, that's such a weight like off of me."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I never want to do this again." But then someone's like, "Hey, I have a quince next year," or like, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna do an hour-long video again like that.
Yeah.
Especially like maybe for like a film or like something I'm working on in that sense.
Right.
But in terms of a wedding video or quince video, it's like that was a lot. That was rough.
Yep.
And I feel like it's just little lessons learned along the way of like, this is what I'm not going to want to do, and this is something I will do.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I try to do with my business too is if I don't like something, I'm not afraid to be like, I'm not the person for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing with having my remote part-time, like being able to like, like kind of filter more and not have to like worry too much about
Landing the gig.
Landing the gig, yeah. But yeah.
That's true, dude. Damn. Fuck, I had something in my head, but I hella forgot what it was now.
It's okay,
Was
I'm
it
taking
quince?
a drink, so.
Hold on, we had the quince. Oh, what kind of advice would you give somebody that wants to start as far as YouTube? Like, because you started with your phone, right? But there's people out there that kind of always wait for the perfect, the perfect moment where it's like, I got to get the right camera, I got to get the right lighting and
Yeah.
all that. Like, what's some advice for anybody that wants to start as far as their YouTube journey?
As far as your YouTube journey, it's like your first video is going to be shit regardless.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have the best camera gear ever, like, your pacing's probably going to be horrible and your talking's probably going to be horrible.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you got to just start it and work through all of it because you're going to have to grind regardless. I think too often you see someone who's successful on YouTube and you see it as an overnight success, especially if you just come across their channel. Like there was one channel that I follow that has, I think like 400,000 subs now, and she was talking about when she first started her channel, it took her like 7 years before it started popping off.
Yeah.
And you don't see that. Like you only come to the channel and see the 400,000 subs.
Yeah.
But there's such a grind to it that it's best just to get started because that grind is gonna be there regardless.
Yeah.
So you might as well just start where you're
Start
at
now.
and start learning right now. And with every video, just try to get better because ultimately it doesn't matter what kind of gear you have. It's everything you do is going to be a learning process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's like your favorite part of the process as far as like creating? Do you like shooting, editing, or what's like your favorite?
I love shooting.
Okay.
And I feel like there's different aspects of everything that I like So I think with shooting, there's such an anticipation to it where you're like, oh, I'm so excited. Like, who knows what's going to happen? And then when
Right.
you're shooting, you can kind of get lost in it where you're like, oh, this is better. And it's kind of like a creativity thing where you decide that you're going to switch up a scene because this just works out better. But with editing, I feel like for me, the process of starting editing is, there's so much
It's like the hardest part, huh?
It's the hardest part is sitting down and starting. But then once I start, I can't stop. Like I
Yeah.
get sucked in and I'm like, ooh, like this video, this transition, like,
Yeah.
and then that like flow state hits and
Yeah.
it feels good. And then when you're finished with editing, that is super rewarding.
Yeah.
But I think the funnest part for me is actually going out there and shooting.
Yeah, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, but I feel like editing almost has more reward.
Yeah.
Because when you're shooting,
Creating it.
you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
this is nice, but you don't have the final product in your hand. But in editing, when you're starting, it sucks.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, you get lost in it. And then you have the final product, and you're like,
You can't step
yes.
away from it.
Yeah, and you're like, I fucking did this. Like, it's
Yeah.
great, you know?
I feel that, dude. I know.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. I always have a hard time starting, and it's always just like, I don't want to edit this, or like, I don't even want to look at it. And then finally, you make yourself, sit down and add all the footage and everything, and then you're just like locked in until like you finally get the video out. Recently, when we did the horror film, right, from the horror fest, do you feel like you work better with the team, or do you feel like you work better by yourself?
I honestly,
Because like I remember when we were like working, you were like what's the word that I can use for
controlling?
this?
Or is that what you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're just like I don't
feel like-
know if it's gonna be good or not. You're like, I don't want to give that to you, type of thing.
I think so with that specific situation,
Yeah.
for me, if I was a little bit controlling, it was because I was like, dude, I storyboard this whole thing. I'm gonna be the one editing this.
Yeah, it's my
like,
baby. Yeah.
You know, if it was your baby, I would do whatever you wanted to do.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah, yeah.
But I think honestly, I wouldn't say I work better alone or with a team.
Okay.
I really enjoyed working with the team. Like, it was fun. I felt like every time when we were filming that, I was so
Yeah.
excited to be like,
It was
oh,
fun,
yeah,
yeah.
like, we're filming today, and it was a good
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
I think I'm more used to working alone.
Right.
But then I feel like working alone has so many more limitations.
Oh, 100%.
If you want the camera to move a certain way, it's like
You
your
have to, like,
tripod
stop.
doesn't, you know?
100%, dude.
Yeah.
I know, working with the team, like when I was working with you, Astolfo, Pete, everybody that was involved, it felt amazing to be a part of that team because obviously, a lot of drawbacks by yourself. And then we were only shooting like a 5-minute video, and that thing took like a month.
Yeah.
A month to like capture. And there was like 3-4 hour days where we were just shooting the same scene over and over again.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that kind of like, I don't know if you already had that in your head where you're like, I want to make more films,
Yeah.
Because that's something where I'm just like, I definitely want to do this more often. And now I understand why having a bigger team is even more valuable, right? Like, I get it now, like the DP, director, executive, like producer and all that stuff. Like, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
So, like, but the thing is, like, I understand where the control came from because I get it. Like, it's your vision, right? And then, like, you're hoping that these people can capture what you have in mind.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just funny because I was just thinking about it, like, when we were doing that together, and then I was just like, I get it. I get, like, why Angela is trying to be more protective over her thing because, like, yeah, who wouldn't be, you know?
Yeah, and I think also too because everything was planned out before that I was like, we're doing this because later this is happening
Yeah.
and this doesn't make sense without this, you know.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
feel like there was like a little bit of control, and I'm also like, this is the crystal girl and me talking. I'm a Virgo, and we're very
The crystal
like,
girl.
yeah, I'm very like organized and like a little particular sometimes, but I think for the most part, I'm okay with loosening the reins.
Yeah. No, you weren't. Yeah, you were cool.
But I think like in that moment, especially too, because I think we kind of had a deadline as well.
Yeah,
It
that
like,
was stressful, dude.
Like we have. Like,
I
a
can
short
only
amount of
imagine
time.
you because you had to, like, edit all that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I mean, by all means, Angela, you got it, but you did it, though. It was I thought it was great.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it.
people
like,
loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess, like, now, where are you at now, as in, like, do you have any future projects that you're working on?
I don't have any feature projects that I'm working on, but like I said, this last month, I kind of took a step back from YouTube to really think about what I want to do moving forward with it.
Yeah.
And something I was watching recently was about making your YouTube channel sticky, and sticky in the sense that when a viewer watches your video, 80% of that viewership will watch your next video.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you're drawing in the same crowd every time.
Yeah.
And to do that, you have to make sure that your formats are consistent, right? But I have trouble with keeping a consistent format because I have two formats in mind, where
Okay.
one of them is what I have been doing, which is kind of a cinematic intro with B-roll, profound thought, and then a sit-down talk of like, hey, like this is what we're talking about today.
Okay.
But the second format that I've been thinking about and kind of craving is more short film formats.
Nice.
Of making my channel kind of the crossroads of personal development and creativity, and having short films, like micro short films that have almost like a visual
that.
poetry to them, where there's a lesson and a message embedded in it
Yeah.
that's not blatantly said, but it's like, oh, I should probably go pick up my camera, or like, oh, like I should probably like do this to help my creative soul or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to venture more out into a film style for
Nice.
some of my videos, and that's like where my gears have been going, like
Okay.
ticking.
Yeah.
And-
Is there like any, well, first of all, like, what's your YouTube channel called? So that way everybody can
it's
check
just
it out.
Angela Zuniga. It's
Okay.
my name. I feel like
Everything?
everything is just my name.
I know, I'm telling you, it's pretty cold in here.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of cold and my nose is like dripping and I'm like, ugh. But yeah, so my name, Angela Zuniga, Zuniga.
Yeah.
If you look it up, I'm probably the first channel to pop up. And if you look up my name on Google, though, it's some woman who was in prison for killing someone.
Oh, what the
so
hell?
that's not me.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, so I guess with your whole thing with not putting shots by this or like limiting yourself,
yeah.
I'm like, I am my brand, I am me, and like this is just gonna be me. And if it doesn't blow up into anything, it's at least a journal of my life, you know.
Oh, yeah, document
Yeah.
everything. Hella true, dude. Is there any advice that you would give your younger self, like young Angela, like before you went to film school or something? Like, what kind of advice would you give her with everything that you know now?
I would say, so okay, I'm gonna tie it back to one of my favorite speeches.
Ah, okay.
So one of my favorite speeches is a commencement speech by Steve Jobs.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he was at a Stanford commencement, and one of the things he said was, "You can only connect the dots looking back and not forward."
Oh,
So
damn.
essentially, his life story was like he went into a calligraphy class because he just thought it would be cool, and years later, he integrated that calligraphy into the Macintosh, and that separated it from the Windows
Right.
PCs. And something I tell my younger self is, don't sweat it. You're doing fine. If you find yourself interested in something, just
Yeah.
go for it and learn about it. And I think something, especially with artists, a strong word that holds a lot of weight is passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a daunting word, because if you're not passionate about something, it's like, dude, what am I doing? You know, like
Yeah.
I'm messing up. But I think something that people don't talk about enough is curiosity, where it's
Oh,
like
okay,
you
yeah.
feel this little nudge towards something and you're kind of curious about it.
Yeah.
It's like that's what's going to lead you to your passion, like going for something that you're slightly interested in, because if you go for it, it'll kind of snowball into this big passion somewhere down the road. But you don't just wake up one day and you're like, I'm passionate about
Yeah.
this, you know.
Yeah.
It's like following those little interests and kind of realizing that if you're not where you want to be right now, it's fine. Like, you're doing okay, you'll figure it
Yeah.
out eventually. Like, don't sweat it. And I think that's what I tell my younger self. It's like, if you have something that you're interested in, just go for it.
Follow it.
Yeah, follow it. Look into it, read about it, decide to join a group about it. Like, just follow whatever little nudge of curiosity you're feeling.
Damn, dude. Wow, that was
Yeah.
good. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned that you want to say?
I think something that I would want to say is read more.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like I think
Name 5 books.
right now. All right. But I think with this day and age, it's very easy to heavily rely on what you're seeing online to teach you.
Yeah.
But what you're seeing online can be recycled information and can influence your creation and what you're creating online. So I say read more because when you're creating a certain medium, like for me, if I'm creating YouTube videos, if I start learning from other YouTube videos and creating based on what I learned from other YouTube videos, then it's hard not to just copy other people's styles, other
Right.
people's things. But if I start learning from a different medium, whether that be a podcast or a book or a movie, finding influence from outside
Right.
of whatever you're trying to make your work in, I think that is what will ultimately lead to you being different.
Finding your style.
Finding your style is like you have to not just take influence from whatever medium you're creating, but also whether it's life experiences or reading different books or just spreading beyond whatever area you make your work in.
Yeah.
I think that is what will collectively turn you into your own unique person, telling your own unique story in your own unique way.
Damn. All right.
Yep.
Oh, that was good, dude. I think we're good.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I looked at that camera once.